doing? He's using the Telegraph as a teleprompter. That's what he's doing. The Telegraph is his teleprompter. It's like somebody fed in the last 5 years of Alison Pearson to twat GPT.
Sorely lacking in much of the mainstream media, I'll tell you that.
Like there's nothing in here that you wouldn't find in a mainstream right-wing newspaper that is then lifted and ejacked out on all of the breakfast shows.
Far too many in the media are far too afraid to actually say.
Sorely lacking in much of the mainstream media.
Darren Grimes has stepped down from GB News. People, pretty sad stuff, isn't it? Darren Grimes. And of course he leaves a gaping hole. Big shoes to fill. Big shoes to, well, it's probably about size 6. Speaking of Phil, Phil of the A Different Bias YouTube channel, he was suggesting that because GB News has maybe lost so much money, that maybe Darren Grimes is just the latest in a veritable conga line exodus of right-wing crayon eaters. I'm paraphrasing slightly. Phil is infinitely more professional than I. But he was suggesting that he's just the latest in a parade of faces who just cannot wait to be cancelled, basically. To be removed in their their cost-cutting mode, right? And he sort of touched on the choice that somebody like Darren Grimes might be faced with. He was sort of being like as though he's Darren Grimes, kind of considering his options. You know, do I stay? Do I go? If I stay, will I just keep kind of petering along with mediocre viewers? Or, you know, the alternative is what I assume he's doing, which is where he leaves, but he reframes his mediocrity on the channel as Labour's regulators. Labour's Ofcom, guys. And he has to walk away from them. He has to escape their clutches to be free online. And so, anyway, GB News let him go. They let him say goodbye to his viewers sometime over the weekend, I believe. I don't know. You've got me. I don't watch GB News, guys. But they let him say goodbye. He had a farewell episode, which suggested it was a mutual decision. They didn't sack him and remove him like they did famously with Mark Dolan, Mark Stain, Dan Wootton, Lawrence Fox, Cosplay Calvin. Who's the Coast Guard guy? What's his fucking name? Freeview Jesus. That matey. What's his name? I'm never going to remember his name. Neil Oliver. That's the guy. He was also let go, I gather. But as Phil said this morning, GB News has lost somewhere in the region of £100 million. And they do have an advertiser boycott problem. There is a well-publicised challenge around staff salaries, and there were 6 separate Ofcom investigations. And so even though it seems on the face of it to be by a mutual agreement, in the round, it also feels like there might be more to this, doesn't there? Because he does this goodbye thing, his farewell thing on GB News, and it all gets very emotional, guys. It all gets rather tearful. Suggested it was by mutual consent, by mutual agreement, but then he goes on his Substack video and he appears to suggest or allude, albeit covertly, that something else had actually happened.
You can get the reasons. I don't have to go into detail, and I'm actually not allowed to. There are so many things I could tell you, but I can't. One day.
You know, like it's all mutual. It's all by his choice. But then also concurrently, like, I wish I could tell you everything that went on, but I can't. Unfortunately, I can't reveal everything. But in time, you'll, maybe then I can reveal a little bit. Like it's. Which is it? Like on GB News at the weekend, it's graceful, it's tearful. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity that I was given. And then in the blink of an eye, like every other coin-op, he immediately pivots Back to this idea that he's been or is being or was feeling censored in some way. And it's like, which is it? Did you choose to leave? Or were you being tamed and tempered and you couldn't say what you wanted to? Because just like your Lawrence Foxes, your Cosplay Calvins, Mark Stain, Dan Wootton, he has moved effortlessly straight into that independent content arena now. And that's where you can follow him. I encourage you to do so. Please go and give him a follow now that he's been unshackled. Now that he's uncensored. Guys, unleashed is what he is. Like, if you thought before, like, what he said was edgy, you just wait until you hear what he's got to say for himself now. Oh, Lord! Now that he's uncensored, now that he's unleashed, like, they're all so fucking predictable. Always the same. Dan Wootton, outspoken. Piers Morgan, uncensored. Boris Johnson, unleashed. Darren Grimes, unleashed. Like, as soon as they get kicked out of somewhere, they have to turn it into some fucking free speech crusade of righteous principle, don't they? Can't just take it on the chin. The ego won't allow it. I had to leave, guys. I had to just get on out of there. I mean, the people were lovely there. My team was incredible. I wish I could have stayed, but just something told me I just had to leave. If I wanted to be able to free speech things to you, the British people, to tell you the truth, no matter how much it hurts the snowflakes. Sign up now, uncensored, unleashed, guys. Like, imagine how refreshing it would be if just once, when a right-wing presenter came to the end of their contract and they were pushed back out into the job market, if just once, if they then branded themselves for what they actually are, for what their situation actually is, like, then it'd be like, Darren Grimes, unemployed is what you are. You're unemployed. Just say what you are. Darren Grimes, unemployed. No. I'm unleashed, Aid. I'm unleashed and uncensored, I say as I fill out the application forms to McDonald's and Costa Coffee. I'm unleashed and uncensored. Are you? Okay, great. But could you, like, grab the fucking mop and bucket because somebody just spilled a milkshake on table 5, Darren? Get with it. Oh, God. So, he's left GB News, and where has he landed? You know, a lot of these people start up their own YouTube channels, a la Dan Wootton, Mark Stain, Lawrence Fox did his, like, reclaim the media thing. Where has old Grimesy ended up? He has ended up on Substack, guys. You can find him on Substack. And he's put his first video up. Should we take a look? Let's take a quick look, shall we?
Thank you very much to everyone who has got in touch over the last 2 days. It's either I think it'll go out. It's pretty much a binary choice, right? I think it'll either go one of 2 ways. It'll either be the best decision that I've ever made or the stupidest decision I've ever made. So,
right.
It'll either be the best decision that I've ever made or the stupidest decision I've ever made. So,
I mean, even if it bombs, right, I would say it's the second stupidest decision, maybe, he's ever made. After the time what did he do? He filled out the Electoral Commission, like, registration form or something, and he ticked the wrong box, and it ended up with, like, some sort of court thing where he got fined for electoral spending offences for, like, £20,000. I mean, that was pretty stupid, right? That was fairly stupid. Is this second to that? I don't know. All those allegations of sexual harassment towards a junior male straight colleague. So I don't know, like second or third, maybe.
It'll either be the best decision that I've ever made or the stupidest decision I've ever made. So
where does this sit? Where does this pitch in for you? Answers in the comments, guys.
The trust and the faith that so many of you have placed in me as someone who I hope, can champion the ideas that we all care about and believe in. Sorely lacking in much of the mainstream media, I'll tell you that.
Right. I mean, I don't want to kick a man when he's down, right? I don't want to shoot holes in his new grift, like, straight off the bat, right? Let's let him get it off the ground first, Aids. Go easy on him, Aids. But this is the thing with people like Grimes, is their whole grift is rooted in this idea that they are saying things that nobody else or few others have the guts to, right?
Sorely lacking in much of the mainstream media, I'll tell you that.
There is this endlessly promoted narrative that other journalists are censored or scared or tamed from saying what is really going on out there in the real Britain, right?
Far too many in the media are far too afraid to actually say.
But what are they? You know, what are these things that Grimes says that he talks about that are supposedly not being talked about by other people out there in the mainstream media? Let's take a look. So these are the last 5 videos of his on GB News's YouTube channel, okay? So they're clips of his show on GB News, and then they upload them to their YouTube channel. The 5 most recent one. Oh, and by the way, remember that GB News itself is sort of styled as a free speech alternative, right? It's an upstart challenger. It speaks for the real Britain. Real Britain was actually the name of Darren Grimes' first TV show that he hosted at GB News. Real Britain. Before he was let go the first time, possibly in relation to those sexual harassment allegations I mentioned. Let's continue. So here on their YouTube, what do we have? We've got his emotional farewell. Then we have, woke nonsense. Some climate science bashing rubbish over here. We have some illegal immigrants hysteria over there. Here we have a thing about non-crime hate incidents. So, like, what exactly is it that Darren Grimes thinks that he's contributing to the political conversation that is sorely lacking in much of the mainstream media? I'll tell you that. Like, you understand what I mean, right?
Sorely lacking in much of the mainstream media, I'll tell you that.
Like, his whole thing is thanks for putting your faith in me, and I hope to be able to speak out on the things that aren't being covered in the mainstream news. But, like, right there, we have illegal migrants. We've got, we need to leave the ECHR. We've got non-crime hate incident stuff. Like, it's basically the fucking Telegraph, isn't it? Like, how is that not just, like, every other day, every other front page of the fucking Telegraph? Oh, 2-tier policing, white people being overlooked for jobs, climate skepticism. Like, there's nothing in here that you wouldn't find in a mainstream right-wing newspaper that is then lifted and ejacked out on all of the breakfast shows, LBC, Sky News, you name it.
Sorely lacking in much of the mainstream media, I'll tell you that.
Like, people ask me, like, why'd you get so angry about this stuff? Why'd you let it wind you up so much? Because this is the level of intellect that you're dealing with here. It's like you've got this broom cupboard puppet blethering his nonsense, but it's nonsense that is lifted off anywhere else in the reactionary right mainstream press. Like, I'll tell you what he's doing. He's using the Telegraph as a teleprompter. That's what he's doing. The Telegraph is his teleprompter. It's like, I'll tell you what it's like. It's like somebody fed in the last 5 years of Alison Pearson to twat GPT, pulled it in and just reworded it and then just printed it back out to him. There you go. There's his script, mate. The Telegraph is his teleprompter. It's like Alison Pearson and Charles Moore, they might be owed AI intellectual property rights from Darren Grimes, because I honestly, twat GPT is basically what it is. It's just regurgitated Telegraph shit. And so, why is this so infuriatingly stupid, Aid? Well, because, he's lifting the same headlines and bullshit, by the way, from the mainstream media. And then he's running off to Substack And he's like, I say the things that nobody else is saying in the mainstream media. I hope yous will put your faith in me for saying the things that's sorely lacking in the mainstream media. I'll tell yous that. And it's like, is that what you think you're doing, Darren? Is that really what you think you're doing? When you're saying the shit that the Telegraph says, which is mostly fucking rubbish, rehashing and reframing it and putting it back out and then asking people to sign up for your subscription. I need yous more now than ever.
It's why I'm going independent, and it's why I need your support like never before.
Please sign up for my subscription. Come join my Substack. On the basis that you're saying what? That you're saying what nobody else is saying. Except they are saying it, and it's fucking bullshit, and you're just saying the same shit they all are. That is the level of intellect on display here.